Hi, everybody.
Hi, so the Premier calls it a bold speech with bold initiatives on jobs and on infrastructure. How do you respond to that?
Well, a ritual is a custom that's lost its meaning and significance, and this was just a ritualistic repetition of unkept promises, re-announcements from a government that has failed to keep its word to Manitobans on so many things. I mean, promising not to increase taxes just 2 years ago, and then having the biggest tax hike in a quarter of a century follow immediately thereafter, and raising the PST and not even letting Manitobans vote on it. The question I guess I have, and Manitobans will have to ask themselves, is can this government be trusted to do the things that it says it's going to do after all these broken promises for so long?
A lot of people have complained about the fact that the PST money was at first said that it was going to roads and then also hospitals and then also schools. Today we got a very narrow definition that it is just going to core infrastructure. Is that enough for Manitobans?
Well, again, the promises the government's made as recently as last year and the year before about investing in infrastructure when it has not done so would be revealing. I think it's important not just to listen to what this government or any politician says, but to look at the record, look at what they've done. Past performance under the NDP is of broken promises, and again, they've repeated those broken promises today. People are natural, I think, to be skeptical. We all understand the importance of investing in critical infrastructure, I hope by now, but the reality is this is a government that doesn't have a record of doing that. And so to accept them at their word, it's a high order.
Does the balanced budget legislation fall in the same category? The Premier was asked about that today, and he said we'll probably still do it by 2016-17. Does it give you any confidence?
Well, it's ironic. I mean, one of the things that he won't commit to, a broken promise yet again. Look, this is a government that clearly believes that Manitobans' hard-earned money is better spent at their cabinet table than it is at the kitchen table. We don't agree. We believe that Manitobans are getting a raw deal here. We know, and Manitobans know, that we are one of the highest tax provinces in Canada. And what the government is trying to do is essentially old-fashioned pork barrel vote buying. It's promising to spend millions and billions of dollars on behalf of Manitobans and grow the economy and create jobs, and yet Manitobans are being asked to pay higher taxes than ever before. And I believe Manitobans are the right people to trust to create the jobs in our province, and I believe that money left at the kitchen table with them, as was promised by this government, makes eminently more sense than does trusting this government to do the things it's claiming it will do now, but hasn't done in the past.
Are you thinking that some of the spending shouldn't have been announced, or is it a good idea at this point?
Oh my gosh, it was the longest speech I've ever heard. It was the longest speech from the throne I've ever heard. The government basically crammed everything in there, including the kitchen sink. They talked about priorities. In fact, they talked about well in excess of a dozen things being their top priority. I've never met a person yet who had that many priorities got anything done, and certainly a government that is focused on everything is focused on nothing at the same time.
Why did they announce so many things?
Well, because they're trying to change the dial. It's quite obvious, and I think quite evident, that what they're trying to do is get Manitobans to think about something other than the fact that this NDP government broke its promises to Manitobans, raised taxes when it promised it wouldn't, raised them again with the PST, took away their right to vote on it, and now claims that they're going to consult with Manitobans. They didn't even, for heaven's sakes, have enough trust in Manitobans to let them vote on the PST hike.
Brian, some of the things they're saying they will do.
I beg your pardon?
Some of the things they're saying they will do now, I take it you're not, against, flood-proofing 75 million things. You're saying, how can you trust that they'll actually use this money and spend it and do this? Is that the message?
Quite precisely, that's the message. I mean, the government has, as I said, they throw in the kitchen sink here. If you have nothing left to be for if you're against everything the government talked about today. The only thing they did not talk about and did not mention is deficits. They did not talk about the fact that they've doubled our provincial debt. They did not talk about the fact that they were 35% over their deficit projection of $500 million just last year. Now, for heaven's sakes, they'll fine an auto body shop for being off by 10% on a quote to repair your car, but they have exempted themselves from any consequences of spending beyond their means. This is the SPENDP. They are addicted to overspending, and they did not devote a word today to the balancing of the books, responsible, sustainable money management, getting the deficit down, not a word.
Thank you.
Thank you all.